In 40 Acres and Maybe a Mule, Pascal, Gideon, and Nellie march onto the pages to tell the human story of April through September 1865 in the complicated era of Reconstruction. After months of research, I have written a story as true as I could, not only in historical facts, but also in human feelings. Reconstruction tried to answer questions. What to do with 4 million African Americans freed from slavery? What to do with the Confederate states that had fought against the Union? President Abraham Lincoln made the first Reconstruction plan at the time of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. It was followed by plans in 1864 and 1866, by the 13th and 14th Amendments, and by the Reconstruction Acts of 1867, which sent Union troops into the South to help ensure freedom for the slaves. As soon as the war between the states ended, Republicans began holding mass meetings and parades. They registered black voters and established Union League clubs in the South where blacks gathered to discuss national politics. In January of 1865, to rid himself of thousands of contraband, which were runaway slaves, who had followed his army through the South, General William Tecumseh Sherman issued Field Order 15, which gave out land. In July, Circular 13, issued by the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, or the Freedmen's Bureau, approved the plan to give 40 acres to any former slave family. It said the federal government might also provide a mule, but no mules were given out. Under General Oliver O. Howard, 40,000 African Americans began farming on 40 acres in that spring of 1865. The Freedmen's Bureau also set up schools, hospitals, asylums, and orphanages for the poor, both black and white. What Circular 13 officially gave in July, Circular 15 in September of that year officially took back from former slaves. Of 40,000 freed people farming land, all but 1,565 lost their lands. Those who kept land lived mostly on the sea islands off the coasts of Georgia and in the Carolinas. In spite of this tragedy, Reconstruction was a glorious period for freed African Americans. For a time, they could vote, and they were elected to office. 41 blacks served as delegates to various constitutional conventions in the South, 64 as legislators, 3 as lieutenant governors, and 4 as congressmen. Many former slaves found their mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, children, and other loved ones sold in slavery. They worked to save money for homes and businesses. Some farmed, others worked in trades as blacksmiths, shoemakers, bricklayers, carpenters, barbers, train porters. There were laundrywomen, clerks, maids, cooks. They ran businesses such as funeral homes, grocery stores, and boarding houses. Others remained on plantations, but they wanted Sunday off to receive pay and to receive pay for their work, and not to be whipped. They wanted their children to go to good schools, to prepare for better lives. Taking new names, they asked for dignity in their new lives. On the other hand, white people had been devastated by the war between the states. They were angry over Lincoln freeing their property, the slaves. They believed blacks were inferior and incapable of independent living. While most slaves understood their masters, most masters did not understand their slaves. White Southerners, therefore, began a series of violent injustices following the war, beginning with the night riders, the black codes, mass murders, and lynchings. In December of 1865 in Tennessee, the Ku Klux Klan, or the KKK, was organized and spread rapidly in the South. In other places, organizations such as the Knights of the White Camellia, the Mississippi Plan, and the White Brotherhood, the White League, and the Red Shirts waged practices of humiliation and intimidation of blacks through maiming and murder. Hard-working black people were kept from saving money, dressing well, building decent homes, or advancing themselves in education. Individuals, schools, churches, and businesses that succeeded were destroyed or chased out of the South. By 1877, President Rutherford B. Hayes decided that former slaves had had enough Northern intervention. He withdrew the troops and turned the civil rights problem over to the former slave owners, the very ones that had caused the problems. Abolitionist societies had disbanded. Northern women, angry that black men could now vote and white women still could not, abandoned the freed people. In 1877, the Civil Rights Act had ensured African American people the rights of all citizens. In 1883, a reversal, the Supreme Court declared that bill to be unconstitutional because it aided a select group of people. Only in 1864 was that decision reversed. This is one story in one country, but any people's story is every people's story. Injustice causes suffering everywhere. Children and adults face this question: what are we going to do about today's injustices?